Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Parenting Show. I'm Jennifer Anderson. Joining me on the couch is my co-host and family counselor, Alyson Schafer. The Parenting Show is back. We are thrilled to be here.
I could not be happier.
Yeah.
I'm in my happy place. This is what I love to do.
So for anybody who's just tuning in for the first time, the Parenting Show is all about democratic parenting.
Correct.
And what is that?
Democratic parenting is a style of parenting which is based on mutual respect. It sees parents in a leadership role, not in a role of domination in the sense of comparing it to the other parenting style, which is autocratic, ruling with an iron fist, or permissive, where the child rules the roost. Both of those I would describe as being sort of slave-tyrant relationships. It's just you're switching between who's controlling who's the puppet and who's the puppet master. So we're trying to find that third alternative, which is winning cooperation rather than forcing compliance or being manipulative. Right. And it's fairly, if you think about it, it's not really the history of how we've raised kids in North America until very recently. So parents love the idea of it. They just don't know so much the practical how-tos. And the Parenting Show offers the opportunity to help understand why kids misbehave and how we go about providing discipline and child guidance in a way that keeps that mutual respect happening and that cooperation flowing.
Well, we are thrilled to have the Parenting Show return after a little bit of a hiatus. We originally started in 2006. We're on the air for 7 years, and now we are back. So thrilled to be back. One of my favorite topics from then and still now is siblings, and that's what we're talking about today.
Mine as well. And I'm sure yours, because when we started the show, you know, Faith and Tyler were how old?
They were 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah,
and I remember because
yeah.
you were saying, what am I going to do? Because these two kids are pushing their crib.
Because I want to drink.
So two together can do what one can. And they were so good at learning early to cooperate. And I'm fascinated with siblings because through the workshops and also in private practice, it's very clear that people will come with one presenting issue for counseling, and they don't realize that a lot of the issue is actually a sibling issue. Mm-hmm. That when we look at how children develop their personalities, yes, part of it is genetic. You do have a temperament that you're born with, and yes, part of it is parenting style, and of course I espouse the democratic parenting style, but in fact the largest influence on how a child will develop their personality is based on their siblings, because you're born into a family system and you have to orient yourself around the other people that are already there. And the way it works with kids is they don't want to be like their sibling. You know, they want their own unique place in the family. If a role has been taken, they shy away from that role out of respect. So it means if you're the first kid in the family, you can be anything you want. There's no siblings around. You've got the whole playing field to decide what kind of a person and how you're going to express yourself. Whereas if you're the sixth kid in a family, you're coming in and you're like, well, he's the smart one, he's the athlete, she's the easygoing one, she's the negotiator. You got to find your way around a whole lot of other people before you find where you're going to fit in and what's going to be your little unique niche in the family. So we shape ourselves based on who else we're playing with.
Well, and also on birth order. Mm-hmm. Does that become, and I know what you're talking about is birth order.
Yeah.
But it's, you always hear, well, she's the youngest or they're the oldest. And so now it becomes really what you were able to get away with.
Yeah, for sure.
As the youngest.
And I'm the baby, so I totally.
Me too.
Yep. Oh, we flew stealth under the radar and got away with a lot. There is a birth order effect, and I know people are going to say, oh, hold on, I read this book that says research doesn't hold that up. And they would be right in that when you look at research on birth order, they use numeric data. So if you're born in 1963, 1965, 1967, that is the ordinal date of your birth.
Right.
When Adler's talking about your birth order, he's talking about your psychological place in the family. So it could be that your eldest sibling was born first, but actually, behaved in a certain way that was irresponsible or something, and the second child in the family stepped up and they started to take charge and act more like a firstborn, or we often see this with sickly children. If the first child is sickly. So it's not about the number, it's about your psychological place in the family. But there's still absolutely kind of like a party game. I can make some pretty good guesses about, if you tell me what your order is in the family, I'll think about what your subjective experience was, and I can make some guesses probably about how you made sense of it and how you organized yourself. So for example, only children who don't have siblings around, they tend to join the marriage. And they will appear like little adults. And as a nursery school teacher, I could tell the only kids in the first couple of minutes because they'd want to play with me. They had very difficult time playing with peers. They like playing with adults or playing with little children, younger, but they have a harder time with their with peer to peer, you know. And but they tend to be very good at independent play. They have a lot of time alone. They learn to figure it out, you know.
So everything, it doesn't matter whether you're looking at it as Adler or you're looking at it in, you know, what year you were born. It really is safe to say that you shouldn't parent each child the same based on all of that information, that everybody is different, therefore they should be parented different?
Well, you will have a different relationship with every child in your family, and we want to help them find their unique place in the family, where their talents, where their strengths, where their contributions are valued. So the way I would think of it is sort of like the metaphor of, or a comparison to a band. You know, we need to have all the different orchestra elements, all the different band members playing, because the sound is richer when you have a drum and a guitar, and you know that makes the sound richer. So there is room for everybody in our family to be their own instrument as a human being, and together we're better. But kids will often not think of it that way. They will think of it as their sibling is cannibalizing them, and it's a competition, and let's see who's better, stronger, faster first, and they will pit themselves against each other so that it becomes a highly competitive environment where they're comparing themselves all the time, and they don't see it as additive. They don't see the benefit of the collective. So that's something that parents have to work to create a non-competitive environment. And part of that is honoring each child's strengths. So don't compare them. You don't want to be saying, well, Johnny's finished his dinner. Why didn't you finish your dinner? He got his homework done in 10 minutes. Why are you still working on your homework? Now you're pitting them against each other. You're more likely to create animosity when you do that.
And between them, not between you and the child, right? Now the animosity is between their brother or sister.
Right. But you know, all children are looking to have their parents' love. And because of children's developmental stages, if you look at Piaget, you know, they are still really concrete thinkers. So they will still think that mom and dad have this amount of love. And that was great when I had it all to myself. But then they went and had that other little baby thing. And I didn't sign up for that. And so now they think, well, if there's a sibling, now they get half of, and I get half of mom's love, which is not true. You don't split love. Love doesn't work that way.
Do the analogy. The analogy is my favorite. With the candle.
Oh, yes, I have to thank Jane Nelson for this. She teaches positive discipline. It's another Adlerian program. And so what she does to teach kids the idea that love is additive is she uses candles, and she'll like get a cupcake or something, and she will light one candle and say, this is all my love, and I gave all my love to you. And she lights, now there's two flames, right? Because she's lit the other candle. And then when I had you, I look at all the love in our family. And then I had your baby sister, and we light the next candle, and I gave her all my love. And now there's more love in the family. Right. So that they get the idea that love is something that's expansive. It isn't something that diminishes when there's more people. So that it helps take that idea of competition away. So I say don't compare, let each child shine in their own unique way. But to your point about, you know, do you parent them differently? Well, I think it would look like favoritism if you didn't uphold the same consequence. So if one child was expected to take their plate from the table and put it in the dishwasher, and another child didn't, that would be like, well, hold on a second, how come he got away with it and I didn't? And that would be not upholding family rules equally. I think that would be problematic. Okay. But I also believe that certain kids, again, depending on their age, might need different things. And I think that's important for kids to know. So it might be that if you've got a little baby, you're like, you know what, yes, I have to give more time to the baby because the baby needs to be changed and bathed and washed and can't do anything on their own. And that might seem unfair to you because you're older and you're bigger and you can do so many things on your own. But the baby needs more time. And when you need time, I'll make sure that I make it so now. But the reality is, in this family, with an abundance attitude, there's enough for everybody, but sometimes it doesn't mean equal. Equal does not necessarily mean fair. The fact that daddy's going to eat 3 pork chops for dinner does not mean I shouldn't force feed the baby 3 pork chops to make it fair. Babies need less food, daddies need more food. Babies need more time with grooming and hygiene. Toddlers need less, and that's just the reality of the situation.
It just makes more sense when you use pork chops. It's harder when you're in the situation.
Right, but that's how we have to teach kids. We have to teach them in a way that they will understand the lesson. And to not be other referential. Just speak up for what you need. It doesn't matter how many pancakes your brother has. Are you hungry still? Ask for all the pancakes you need, not based on what he's eating.
Right. I love that. We have been asking parents to send in questions to you. We have one here. There is a lot of love in families, except when they're all in a car together. I think that's common.
Yes, we left love at the door when we went on this road trip.
Yes.
It's a notorious time for fighting.
We can't seem to go 2 miles in the car without my 2 boys fighting. We're driving to Florida for Christmas, and I can't fathom how we'll survive if we can't even manage the drive to school without a fight.
Yeah.
What can I do?
So when we look at going back to and I've said this in every show, if we're going to ask for parenting advice, we have to understand why the behavior happens. What is the goal? And this is a distinguishing feature in Adlerian psychology. What is the child trying to accomplish? Not what causes the child to fight, but what does the child stand to gain by fighting? And that's a big differentiator between Freudian and other psychological schools and Adlerian school. This is, I misbehave and I pick on my brother in order to gain something. And what do I gain? And what we find is that for a lot of kerfuffling with kids, the goal is parental attention. Because they'll say, they don't fight when they're staying overnight at grandma's for a sleepover. They play together on the schoolyard. At school, the teachers don't say that they're picking on each other in the schoolyard. It's only when we're there. And when are we there the most? In the car. Because you are a forced audience to their business, to their dynamic, and they know you're watching. So you get the engagement, stop that, don't do that, leave your brother alone, stop it, whatever. You get that engagement. But secondly of all, it will reinforce a rule. So one of them will want to have you in a competitive family, will want you to believe that your brother is picking on you, and they will act like they are a victim. He's hitting me, he took my whatever. One person is going to take the role of the victim, and the other person is going to come across looking like the aggressor.
Okay.
And the parents will see that and say, well, the aggressor has transgressed the victim, and therefore the aggressor needs to be disciplined. And so they'll get in trouble. Well, it doesn't take long for that little brother to learn that they can just I'm going to do this until my brother kicks me, and then he kicked me. Right? This doesn't get you in trouble, but the kick does. So what a brilliant mechanism to make your brother look bad in your mother's eyes, and for you to elevate yourself in your mother's eyes or your father's eyes, if you can get your other brother to treat you badly. It's worth the kick. So if that's the usefulness of the behavior, how do we change it? Don't let it be useful. Don't let the child reach their goal. I don't know too many people that are going to sit and poke a brother knowing that they're going to get kicked if it doesn't get a response from a parent. Because now you're just getting yourself kicked.
Right.
There's
no reward.
There is no reward in just getting kicked for no reason. You'd much rather play. So the rule of thumb is to ignore it. And what I find is that even when you're in a car, because it is such confined space, they still know you're watching, so it will continue. I found with my own kids that the only way that I could really prove that I was not paying attention to their fighting was to actually pull the car over and get out. And no, you got to keep your kids safe. You got to pull over in a safe place. You got to leave the windows down. You don't leave them in a hot car. The keys, be safe. Obviously, use good judgment there, parents. But if I just walked a little bit away from the car and then picked up my phone or a book and started reading, I would just be like, okay, just let me know. Knock on the window when you're ready for me to drive again. And when they would start, I would just say, can you guys make it safe for me to drive? If you fight, I have to pull over. It's unsafe. Simple, logical consequence, related, revealed in advance. They keep fighting, pull the car over, get out. I did that with my kids 3 times. After 3 times, they knew I meant business. So I'd just say, do I need to pull? No, you don't need to pull over. And I would practice doing it. Maybe going to school might be a hard time for that. You know, we always talk about, you don't have to do this over and over and over again. There's just this little period called take time for training. Maybe you don't want to do it on a school day when you're worried if you're going to pull over, they're going to be late for school or leave early. Why don't you do it at a time when one of them has to get somewhere fun, like a birthday party? Right now they're like, hey, what do you mean you're stopping the car? I want to go to the birthday party, or I got to get to hockey practice, I got to get to karate. You might find it's easier to pick your week of training at a time that isn't so time important to you.
Right. And I remember you had a book. You just kept a book in the car.
Yeah.
So you could just...
And the best part is, if you keep a book in the car that you really like, you're going to be so excited. I think I was reading Outlander at the time, and I was like, come on, bring it on, because I got to find out whether or not he gets out of Lovellybrook or whatever it was.
Well, I remember doing it and going, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I get to do this. Is
I
it
get to
going to
read.
work?
This is win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it makes you, it helps you just be divested. If you're parenting in a way that you have an interest in the outcome and you're trying to push it one direction, your kids will sense that, and it will change the dynamic. So I really just find, hey, tomato, I don't care, but you know, be peaceful, I drive, not be peaceful, I don't drive. I don't know what you'll decide to do.
So this can be applied to the family room, right? You're just leaving the room.
You just leave the room, absolutely. And again, parents, try this as your own little litmus test to prove that you are required as the audience for the dynamic. If they really wanted to fight with one another, if you left the room, don't you think they go, great, now I can sucker kick them? No, they don't. They actually follow you. Why would they move the fight to the laundry room, to your office, to the bedroom, to the garden, 3 feet behind you? Because you are a requirement for that dynamic to work. If you're not the audience, it doesn't make any sense anymore. So you may have to actually go somewhere where you can close the door. You know, we call it the bathroom technique. Just say, hey, you know what? I'm not interested in watching that. It looks like you two have decided to fight. I was like, see, because that kind of gives ownership to both the poker and the bear. Looks like you guys have decided to fight. I'm not interested in watching it. I'll come out when the coast is clear and things are calm. And just go in the bathroom, close the door. Same thing, keep a book there too.
Yeah, and chocolate.
Yes.
And chocolate too.
Yeah.
So if there is, punishment isn't the right word, but if there needs to be discipline in the situation, you are disciplining both.
Right.
The poker and the bear.
To your point. So because we're honoring that it is a co-created experience, that it takes 2 people to fight, to sustain a fight, that means that if 2 do the crime, 2 do the time. I don't care who started it. I don't care how innocent it might look, because parents will say, he was just sitting there. He wasn't doing anything, and his brother just walked right by and walloped him upside the head. Well, you may feel like they're not doing anything, but you don't know the whole backstory. It could have been that he took the toy out of the cereal box this morning without his permission or whatever. But if you send them both then, say if you can't be in the same room and get along with one another, then you both need to have 5 minutes apart. If you 2 can't be on the computer and share it without a fight breaking out, then you both lose your computer privileges for a day. This fundamentally changes the dynamic, because now the first person who starts squawking, hey, it's my turn, you've been on Minecraft long and it's my turn on Minecraft. You know, the other one's gonna be like, no, wait. If you squawk too loud, she's going to take it away from both of us. Okay. You can have a turn. Now you're motivated to be your brother's keeper and to cooperate with the other person. And if one person gets sent to their room and comes down, now you've got animosity for that person who got off the hook, who's made you look bad. So of course when they're sitting there doing nothing, you're going to whack them. That's payback time for some transgression in the past. So whatever your consequence is, both children participate in the consequence.
Okay.
It's going to feel unfair to some parents, but I'm telling you, if you try this for a week, you will see a change.
Especially if you put them in the same shirt. You always see those get along shirts.
Yes, right,
Where
right.
you put them in the same room and have them work out
Yeah.
and negotiate and come back.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's the joke, we call it, say, putting them in the same boat, but like, honestly, if you think about two people in a rowboat and they want to get to shore to have lunch, they can paddle in opposite directions for a really long time, but eventually they're going to say, if we want to eat lunch, we got to get coordinated and cooperate and get to shore.
Right.
And that's what they'll end up doing when you put them in the same boat.
We talked about a little bit about birth order. What happens if they are the same age? Because there's lots of parents of twins out there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So still very different in personalities, they could be.
Right. So they will still, well, first of all, I have never known a twin set that didn't know who was born first. So clearly that matters.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say necessarily the first one to take that first breath of air necessarily takes on the role of the eldest. But I would say what they will do is they will find ways to differentiate from each other. And so it's remarkable how even in infancy, one will be a good sleeper and one won't. One will be good at nursing, the other one won't. They will find ways to be different from one another. Now, the more competitive the family environment, the more they're going to feel like they need to differentiate themselves and be different. And the less competitive the family environment, the more they can be the same and not feel such a sense of threat.
Right.
So again, the more we can emphasize that there's room for all, that all qualities are honored and valued here, the better.
Okay, that perfect segue.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it. The competitive nature of siblings. This question is, my younger daughter is very smart and talented. Everything comes easy to her. Her older sister struggles with everything. I don't want to discourage her further. I worry if I celebrated her younger sister's achievements, I will be making her older sister feel badly and feel bad that she is not succeeding. How do I celebrate one without upsetting the other?
So this is an interesting twist because the younger one is excelling over the eldest. But think about in a typical family, the oldest has been on the planet longer, so they know more language, more math, they know how to ride a two-wheeler instead of a tricycle, they know how to make their bed without wrinkles. You know, there's all these things that they can do better. And the younger child is always feeling like they're in that inferior position, not being able to keep up with their sibling. So in either case, regardless of age, people are at different levels of skill and development. And so, yes, I want to honor and be able to give accolades for success and honor accomplishment. There's nothing wrong with that. But the way that we do it in Adlerian psychology to not be discouraging and to not have cooperation and comparison between the two is to make sure that we differentiate praise from encouragement. So praise is when you give a child a verbal reward, like a verbal sticker. You're basically saying to the child, there is a measuring rod of how you are doing in life, and it is calibrated based on my standards. And I'm watching you and evaluating you, and I say, you're a good girl, or, you know, you cleaned your room just right. Whatever it might be, I'm saying that you're hitting some mark. But you're feeling judged. And that means the other person looks and says, well, my room's not as clean. I didn't get that same thing. So praise is about perfect, final, completed judgment, external evaluation from another.
Okay.
So that's not going to be helpful. That's going to be very discouraging because you're going to realize, you know, she's a 10 and I'm only a 7. That's why it becomes discouraging. When we instead learn the art of encouragement, it allows us to still comment, but there's no judgment with encouragement. Encouragement has as a foundational piece, it says, right now, as you are, you're already everything you need to be. And then you're now learning some skills. You're learning to read, you're learning to tie shoes, you're learning to ride bikes, you know, whatever, and isn't that exciting? But none of those things evaluate or increase your worth. That is fixed, it's your birthright. So you're focusing instead on effort and improvement. So if you've got 2 kids now and you say, go upstairs and make your beds, both the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old, you can say, wow, you worked really hard at that. Right? Which is different than your bed is made
Not
perfectly.
an evaluation.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not. So we shift the focus to improvement. Like last week when you made your bed, it took 5 minutes and you did it in 3 this week. Or, last time you couldn't get the edge of the bed ruffle straight and now you can. Or all that practicing in piano is really paying off. Last week you only knew 6 words on your spelling dictée, and this week you got 8. So no matter where a child is developmentally, you can always use encouragement, because regardless, the effort and improvement applies across all situations. And then when they have an accomplishment, we just make sure they own it, right? So it's like, you must be so proud of yourself you got that done, rather than I'm proud of you, or
right.
Yeah.
I'm going to slip one more in.
There's lots on encouragement on my website.
Well, and so let's talk about that, because you have a resource page.
I have a resource page that has all kinds of books. I have a workshop page that talks about upcoming events. And then there's all my blogs and videos that are on there too. So there's a nice little Google search engine you can, put in. Still pooping pants at 8 years old. It's one of my biggest, it's my claim to fame. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Most
views.
Most views. Everyone's got one. That'd be mine.
Claim to fame.
But so use the search engine, and you'll be able to find content and blogs that I've collected over the years.
Perfect. A couple minutes left. I'm going to
Okay.
just redo this one a little bit. It's, my kids get along great when they are home alone, but as soon as one has a friend over, they turn on their sibling and pick on her and exclude her. Can we kind of apply that in a few quick comments about just being in public, being with other people, being in other surroundings?
Yeah, so, again, every time you add a person, you change dynamics. It really does change the situation. I understand that you want to have a home that's inclusive, and when you're out in the park, you want to be inclusive. That's all fine too. But I also believe that it's okay to just have your friend and want to have some one-on-one time. So rather than getting into discipline and consequences, what I would suggest is that we look at it from a problem-solving point of view and talk in advance with your kids. So we're going to have a play date. What are some things you can do together with your sister or brother, and what are some things that you'd like to do alone? And so long as you plan it up front, I think you'll get more cooperation. So you might say, you can all play dress up and all have cookie and snack together, but then these girls are going to go to their room and they're going to giggle and watch a movie for the next hour. So just map it out with everybody's agreement in advance, and it should settle things down.
And that goes back to, it doesn't always have to be fair. It doesn't always have to be that this isn't a sleepover night for all 4 of our children. We choose different times. This is your night, and you will have your sibling will have a different night.
Which goes to the idea too that so much of this is not about right or wrong. This is about, are we getting along? Is everyone getting their needs met? Are we getting along? It's the same with family bed. As long as everyone's in agreement, then it's fine. Go for it.
Oh, the family bed.
That topic is coming up in another episode.
Yes, co-sleeping. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always nice to be on the couch with you talking about democratic parenting. Lots of episodes. You can head to rogerstv.com to take a look at all of the Parenting Show episodes. But for now, this one is finished. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Parenting Show.